I hope people stay for the movie. It'll be interesting, I'm sure. And you've been part of the movie and know about the movie.
Yeah.
But more so, this man has a fantastic, and he's been making medicine and growing cannabis for a long time. Extraordinary court case, got off, just speaks his truth. He's like Dr. Pot, no nonsense. I really appreciate it. Thanks heaps for coming up.
Cheers. Okay, so you're one of the stars in this movie tonight. I opened my mouth and put my foot in it, except that just 2-3 weeks ago, the man who discovered the internal cannabis system that we have, he backed up what I said in the movie. And what I said in the movie was that the raw form, the acidic form, is far superior to the activated form. So THCA is better than THC. CBDA is better than CBD. CBCA, blah, 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 blah. All the 140 odd cannabinoids in the acidic form is better than the activated form. The most nutritious plant on the planet is a cannabis plant full of seed. Okay, so you're getting your... Dr. Pot talked about omega-3 and omega-6. That, if you keep that going for the rest of your life, with the medicinal benefits of eating raw cannabis, then you will prevent cancer from forming. You will prevent cancer from forming. So what you do is you make sure that you give it to your child when it's that big. You don't give them the activated form, you give them I'll tell you how to do it. You buy a pound of dope, or you go and grow a pound of dope. And you shouldn't call it dope, but I've been calling it dope because everyone called it dope since I started growing it in 1959. Okay, so you take this dope, you put it in a blender, and you put it in a bowl, a pound of dope, right? And then you pour in a whole lot of olive oil. You stir it up. You put that in the freezer. You take it out a day later. It's frozen. You just leave it there until it thaws out. You give it another stir, and then you pour that through a filter. That is what the oil that you've got there is called CBGA, cannabigerolic acid. That is, if you can't eat it raw and you want to keep some for the whole year, that's what you do. You take a cannabis plant, you dry it, you chop it up, you put it in the olive oil, and you just filter it. And that's CBGA. Now, CBGA is made up of THCA, CBDA, CBCA, all the A's, okay? And if you want to treat yourself for cancer, who's got cancer in the room, anybody? Okay, if you want to treat yourself with cancer, then what you have to do is do the CBGA, fresh head, and do the activated molecule as well. Rub balm wherever if you've got cancer of the bum, you rub the cancer on the bum. If it's in your head, you put the balm in your head. You want to get as much cannabis into you as possible at this stage without falling over stupid, okay? Now, the raw cannabis cannot make you stoned at all. You will not get stoned from this CBGA that I've told you about. So that's about that, because it's so simple, all right? The whole thing is just so simple. You go up and you grow your plant, and you go up and you eat it when it's in flower, just like a goat. And that is the most important set of cannabinoids and terpenes you will ever get, because they don't escape once they get in your mouth, right? But the terpenes and some of the cannabinoids will degrade if you don't put them in your mouth. If they degrade in the sun, time will degrade them. All sorts of manners of things will degrade them, but time will turn THCA into THC. Time. Ultraviolet light will do the same. So you want to hang the plant up once you've harvested, and a week later it's dry, or 10 days later, and you make your CBGA from that at that point, because you don't want to leave it 8 months or a year, because a lot of it will have gone into THC from THCA.
How much do you have a day?
Oh, well, it can't kill you. Okay, so, but a reasonable dose would be, you know, a dropper that you get from the eyedroppers, half of one of those every morning, half of one of those at night maybe, something like that. But you have to, it's a magnificent pain relief, this stuff. It's as good as the THC itself for pain relief.
How long do you leave in the freezer?
Oh, just a day. Yeah, and yeah.
So you've got a pound in a big bowl. How much oil is required to cover that to get your samples?
Oh, about 5 litres.
All right, so you have 5 litres of tincture after that's done?
No, because you squeeze out and you only get 4 litres left. You know, there's just still stuff stuck to the crud, yeah.
That's a lot then for you to have half a dropper each day, so you've got yourself like a year's worth?
Yep,
Yeah.
that's right, yeah. And so if you've got a seed, you put it in the ground and it'll cost you about $50 to make a year's supply of your medicine, rather than pay $40,000 or $50,000 for it, right? So that's where it's at. If you've got plenty of money, don't worry about it. Just go and bloody buy it.
And you use the whole lot,
Leaf and head is the go, yes. Okay, so let's just leave that, because the simple answer is just that. You eat it like a goat. There's nothing else you can say, really. Okay, end of story. And you give it to the children and they grow up all their life and they have a CBGA. Eat it like a salad. You can actually chop up this stuff and put it in your salad, right? It tastes very, very peppery if you get the right varieties. And that pepper will tell you that it's got some goodness in it. All right, so let's just forget about that. We'll go back to what Dr. Potts said, or something like what he said. I just want to know if anybody has ever worked in a freezing works or a meat works or a... Okay, you have? All right, so when I went to university, I had to get money, and the greatest amount of money you could get was from the meat works. And so I went in there and I was skinning kidneys. The guy right next to me was the vet, and there was a great big... We watched all of these animals go through, and I skinned kidneys all bloody day, and he talked to me about it, and I said, mate, there's not one of these old ewes doesn't have a disease. And he said, no, that's right. He said, I've never seen a bloody animal in here without a disease. So then the hoggets came through, and they were only 4 years old, and 3 and 4, and I said, mate, there's not one of these hoggets without disease. He said, no, I've never seen one without disease. And then there came the beautiful lambs. This is from Taranaki in New Zealand, all right? Some of the most beautiful pasture that you can get. And the lambs came through. And I said, mate, there's not one lamb in here without disease. He says, no, I've never seen a lamb without disease. And then just a week before I went back to uni, they were struggling to get some animals, and one guy brought in a whole lot of sheep that he caught up in the bush, and he put them in. They were skinny, and he was going to use them for whatever he had to do on his farm. And we put them through, and I said, Jesus, he's got no disease. He said, no. He said, these are the first bloody sheep I've seen without any disease. Now, what's that? Hey? What is that? Yeah. Well, they're eating too good a tucker. You see, these things were hungry, right? Dr. Potts said, don't eat too much. Eat the right stuff. These animals were eating roughage. And every now and again they might be able to escape and get a little bit of grass, and that was okay. But if you put these bloody animals on grass, all you're going to do is destroy their bodies. We actually put animals now in feedlots, and we give them, grains which they never eat. Yeah, and so what they do is they get marbled fat, and just before they get their heads chopped off, they're going to die anyway within a week because they're all chocked up, and yeah, you've got to be very careful what you eat these days. And this is, Dr. Pott told you about it. But one of the most important things is to be hungry all the time and eat roughage, just like those sheep I was talking about, and never eat too much. Oh, see, that's the problem, is that our society, as Dr. Pott says, they're running around and it's out here. That can't happen if you're going to live a long time. And who wants to live a long time? I mean, is there anybody here who wants to live a long time? Yeah, right. That's where it's at, and even that won't guarantee it because you walk in front of a bus. However, it's, you know, you're trying to look at the average, you're trying to look at where you're going to go. So that's what I say, is you must not eat highly processed foods such as, well, have you been to Coles and Woolies and seen their ham selection, which is actually stuff which is put together as a press, and it's, you know, all sorts of rubbish that goes into the ham. Get rid of that stuff out of your diet. It's no good. It is absolutely no good. All processed meats are no good. Bacon's no good. I had bacon this morning. I love bacon. Okay. So, moderation, yes, I've heard of that. But when I wake up at 5:30 in the morning, the first thing I do is roll a joint. So that's not moderation, is it? No. Okay, so I'll be at 11 o'clock tomorrow morning. I don't want to talk about medicine today because there's not that many people here. What I want to do is tell you about, this time, I'm going to tell you about what we are doing wrong agriculturally around the world. If you look at the amount of, if you take a square of all the agricultural land in the world and put it into a square, then that will be 11,500 kilometres by 11,500 kilometres. About the size of Australia is what is under cultivation in the world. So around about 80% of that is dedicated to sheep, pigs, goats, cattle, all right? 900 million of us eat 80% of that, of the meat. Only 900 million out of 7 or 8 billion. So now, what are we saying is that half the world is starving and half the world is fat. Well, no, a tenth of the world is fat and the rest of them are starving. Starving is not the same as not eating quite enough. Starving is starving. Starving will kill you, but eating less is healthy, that's right. So here we go. If you take a quarter of the world's production and put it into hemp, you would give every man, woman and child on the earth a kilogram of hemp seed every day. You would be able to build a house for them after 2 years with that amount out of the hemp fibre. You would be able to run 40 chooks in a family of 4 with all the hemp seed. So it's like you can almost look after the whole system by just 1/4 of the world's agricultural produce being in hemp. If you wanted to grow as many cattle and sheep and pigs and everything that there is now, you'd need another 1/4. That means that you could put half of the world's agricultural production and just let it go back into the wilderness. It would do us a lot of good. So we're not doing the right thing. The greatest crop for density of seed is hemp. There is nothing else which is as dense. In fact, the hemp and cannabis crop, if it's full of seed, when you weigh it, the hemp weighs the same amount as the rest of the plant. Or the seed, rather, weighs the same amount as the rest of the plant. Now, that's a lot of hemp seed that you get you can get about a kilo of hemp seed every 2 square metres. So that shows you, so you need about 700 square metres each person to get a kilo of seed every day for everybody. It's a simple old equation, but it's when you look at the number of cattle and sheep and everything else on the planet, we are in trouble if we're only going to feed 1/10 with 80% of the world's. It's going to change, isn't it? Someone's going to say, "Oh, that's not right." Now, I'm not a vegan, but I can see. I have bacon. See, I can see the argument that we should be vegetarians. I don't want to be, but I can see the argument, and it's unsettling for me because I love my meat, you know. But I'm going to have to cut down, and I think everyone should. And I don't know how it works. You see, there's so many people in the world these days who have got over $1 billion, and they don't even look at us as being human. That's the problem. And so we have to go, we have to, well, first of all, who is going to vote one hemp next year that didn't vote this year? Yeah, oh, we got another 5. Look, as long as we can get 10% more than what we got last time, we'll start frightening them. So, so look, is there any questions? Because it's starting to get a bit late now. I don't know what time I'm supposed to be going till. Yes.
Question with the hemp crop, it grows out of the soil. Soil's been oftentimes been turned over and chewed up. It's not real good quality. But how deep does the root of the hemp go into the ground? Is some of it just very shallow? And some
Yeah, hemp is a very shallow crop. It loves to go sideways, and it doesn't go into the ground much at all, about that far. Okay, so but it does pull out heavy metals out of the ground. That's one of the things that it does do. And the best thing to do with that hemp is to make bricks and put it in your barn or something, you know. Yeah. Yes.
Back to the CBGA, what would you do with the filtered matter, the solid matter that's left over?
Okay, so you did right. Well, what you do then is you, well, you can make a cake.
There's a lot of matter.
There's a lot of matter there, and when you squeeze out, and it almost becomes solid, right? So yeah, it's a cooking material after that.
Put it in the freezer, could you suppose, and chop chunks off it when you need it, or?
Yes, you can do that, and when you cook it, it's going to get you stoned, see?
Yeah.
Okay, so,
But you can put it in your smoothie in the morning.
yes,
And you don't get stuff. You just have it.
that's right, yes, you can put it in your smoothie, but don't cook it, because if you drive to work, you'll get pulled over and, hello. Yeah, okay. Now, so what I ask, when I ask if anyone's got any disease in the room, I'm telling you that everyone in this room has got disease. That's what I'm telling you. And you've got to do something about it. And the biggest thing that, you know, it's bloody near too late for all of us, right? But we've got kids, and they're the ones who need the work. So I looked at a study the other day, and there's so much bullshit about schizophrenia, anxiety and depression with THC. So I looked at this study done by this Israeli, and he had 500 children who were suffering from severe autism between the ages of 3 and 11 or 14. I'm not sure which one it was. 500 children. He gave them strong THC and strong CBD, a mixture, and the THC, immediately those autistic children started to smile, looked you in the eye, stopped flapping, did all of the things which you would think that they were just purely neurotypical. But no, this is what it does to really severely autistic children. This is THC, the stuff which you're not allowed to have, right? So these children, there was 500 of them. There was only 20 that didn't improve by more than 5%. Only 20 didn't improve their outlook by more than 5%. That's 96% of them improved much more than 5%. And a lot of them were right up in that band where they've gone home, they're on THC for the rest of their lives and prescribed by a doctor, and it's actually FECO oil, if you know what that is. Anyone know what FECO is? You don't know what FECO is? Okay, FECO is just full extract cannabis oil, just with alcohol. FECO, it's just an alcohol. Rick Simpson, all of those, you know, it's just an alcohol extraction. So they give it strong THC to these kids, and not one out of the 500 developed any schizophrenia, not 1 in 500 developed any anxiety, and not 1 in 500 any depression. So now, if you take that there's 0 out of 500, I can't see the official line, which is 1 out of 3 gets schizophrenia. I can't see that. I have so many mates that I've smoked with all of my life, and I have not found one with schizophrenia. And some of them are bloody anxious and depressed like every other one, you know, like and they still smoke, but if they didn't smoke, it'd be bloody sight worse, that's all I know, right? Yeah, so it does bring it down. It doesn't stop it. It's like pain relief. It brings it down. It doesn't stop it. And pain is a very, very important thing for your body. You actually should know when half your leg is blown off, right? Yeah, you should have a pain to reflect that. And that's what pain is. It reflects something is wrong in your body. Something is wrong. And it might be just a pulled muscle. It could be something very serious. So pain is there for a reason. And you only reduce it when you know that you're in a bit of trouble and you can't stand the pain. But you've got to take notice of it and say, what the hell is it? And try and find out. Now, the most important thing that doctors can do these days is they have such terrific diagnostic techniques. Now, if I told you everyone's got disease, I've got disease, you could put yourself through one of these whatever machines that give you I can't remember the name of them. It makes a hell of a noise. You could put yourself through this machine today and you'll find disease. You put yourself through that machine in 3 weeks' time and you'll find disease. Oh, in different places, by the way, because the other ones have disappeared. Because they've done these studies, and people who go through once a week, and the doctors have done this once a week for just an experiment, they find diseases in the different parts of the body every bloody week. Or every month or something, I can't remember quite what it was, but you see how disease comes and disease goes on its own. On its own. And when you see someone who lives to 110 years old, the doctor talks about your anandamide, that person, I guarantee, has been extra active during his lifetime, hers, and not eaten too much all through their life, and had good sleep, and, you know, a proper partner. That's fairly important. And they'll live to a long, ripe old age. They don't need cannabis if you do all of those things. But we don't, do we? We don't we don't go around hungry every night to go to bed. We don't wake up in the morning and say, oh, I think I might have breakfast at 2 o'clock today. You don't, do you? But we should. We should be up and not eating too much, just something, a bit of fluid, and away we go. Work and sweat. Burn stuff out of the liver. The liver is the thing. If you don't burn that out, it's a sludge machine. The doctor will tell you about livers and alcohol. I was an alcoholic, right? I drank alcohol. I think I drank half a 26 ounce bottle of brandy and a gallon of beer every night. Is that an alcoholic? Yep, that was me. And I found out that I had liver damage. And 5 years ago I had a look at it and they said, oh, you got no liver damage anymore. I gave up drinking when I was 32 and I went back to smoking joints. And that's cleaned up my liver. So my family has arthritis, and when I was 45, I had this hand that was like this and the other one was like that. And it was just terrible to do anything. You had to warm it up to get anything done. Anyway, I decided I'm going to go and make some oil. So I started making oil and I got this oil all over my hands. Right? Now, and that was 45, that's sort of 25 years ago. Now I can do this. Right? Couldn't do that before. Could not move the bloody things much faster than that. And you keep trying to keep them warm. Now they stay warm. So, cannabis. Okay? Cannabis. Vote one hemp. That's the only thing we can do. And don't worry about their policies, because they're not going to get in. Hey, this is no problem. I tried to talk to them about their policies. They got no policies. I don't care. Yeah. So just vote one hemp and forget about the rest. And every time you meet somebody, I want you to go home and examine the endocannabinoid system, CBGA, and start talking to people. Start, just like Dr. Potts says, you have to, Jesus, when they ring up and want me to go on a cruise somewhere, you know, would you like to go? I'd start talking about cannabis. I can't help myself. I went on a cruise around New Zealand last year. Yeah, that was as funny as a fight. All of the crew, there was 2,000 odd crew, and everybody in the crew knew that we smoked cannabis, and we all told them that we smoked cannabis, and you announced it in the bloody dining room. And so everyone would come up to me and say, well, what are we supposed to be doing? So I had like 300 people in the boat talking to me about cannabis, and there's pretty hoity-toity stuff too, the people on the boat, you know. And the guys, the woman and the men who were looking after, they were from Philippines and Indonesia and God knows wherever. And I remember about the second to last day, the Filipino comes walking past and we're sitting in the smoking section, and he says, oh, hello, Mr. Lee, and there's about 300 people, and he walks past and he doesn't say anything to anybody else. Right? That's because we got a connection with these guys, because we talk to them. And those whole 2,000 people who were in that boat they were the crew, everybody knew our names and what we stood for. And they would sit there and look and talk to us. So it's a matter of getting educated and then pushing it, because if we don't do this, as Dr. Potts says, we're going to go to the pot. Really. Yeah. So anyway, I'm going to finish up there unless anyone's got any more questions. All right. Okay, so is that all right? We've finished now, haven't we?
Yes.
Sister? Yeah. Yes. Same thing tomorrow. I start at